things I had to work on. And these are just some of the things I did. I got to go on missions trips down to Mexico. We went on a couple week-long missions trips over Thanksgiving and Easter break. And then we would go every 2 or 3 Saturdays down to Mexico, spend a whole day down there doing ministry to adults and kids, which was lots of fun. And then I got to work in the kitchen on the weekends to help pay for part of my schooling. This kind of program they have there. So kind of learned a little bit about what it means to kind of, sacrifice a few things, working in the kitchen on the weekends, Saturday mornings, getting up at 5 o'clock, just, it's like, I don't know about this. For 9 months, that's a long time, but, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. So we had lots of fun, and a lot of interesting things happen in the kitchen at 5 o'clock in the morning, that's for sure. So these are some of the things that I did. And this picture here is of English class I helped teach. Those are 3 of our more regular students that would come. 2 from Nicaragua and 1 in the middle is from Chile. And they were lots of fun to get to know them, help teach them some English. It was a lot of fun. So I graduated from there last May, and since then have been working towards getting to the country of Honduras. It was really when I was there the Lord directed me towards the country of Honduras. Before I went, I was thinking, well, maybe kind of Mexico, but I didn't know for sure if it was just my idea, that what I wanted to do, because my grandpa and his family are from Mexico, so it's always held some sort of interest for me to go there and see what it was like. But for my first trip down there, the Lord made it clear that wasn't where he had for me long term. So I began praying about a specific country, and really during my second semester down there, the country of Honduras really came back to mind. It was something that had kind of been planted this summer before I left, but it kind of came to fruition when I was down there. So a little bit about the country of Honduras. It's just a little bit bigger than the state of Tennessee. It has a population of over 7.5 million people. And of the 5 countries in Central America, it's the second poorest one. I think the average income, at least of last year, I haven't rechecked it for this year, the average income for a Honduran is $660 a year. And that's well below the poverty level there. And the distribution of wealth in Honduras is very unequal. You have some of the bigger cities very more modern, more wealth. You have your touristy areas, which of course have money, but just among a few even in there. And then you have your people, more indigenous people still living in huts in the jungle and everything. So you have everything in between there. And so the wealth of the country is not very evenly distributed. But this is the thing that really amazed me. Almost 40%, 38.7% of the population is 14 years old and under. And if you think of the implications of that, doing ministry to children, which is what I'll be doing, that is a huge, not only mission field, but an opportunity for the future generations to impact them. Because you have almost 40% of the children that you can go in and you can teach them the gospel, you can help them grow in that, and they're going to, in turn, then be 40% of your future adult population that will teach their children and their grandchildren and the generations that follow them the gospel. So to me, this is exciting. This is, you have the ability not only to change the children's lives here and today, but generations in the future. And you could even reach the country. And I don't think that's too big of a vision, given what we do. And like you said, most of the people will tell you they're Roman Catholic and that they believe in God. They do good things. They're good people. So they're very friendly, very open, very hospitable. They will listen to you, but they think that you're just telling them what they already know or what they already are a lot of times. So helping them to see kind of how just doing good things, just being good people isn't good enough. You can't get to heaven just by being a good person, which is kind of hard sometimes. And they tend to be superstitious, like you said, because it gets mixed. The Roman Catholicism gets mixed in with indigenous beliefs, and so there's a lot of there's reverence for God. There's also kind of a fear of Him that isn't necessarily a healthy fear, like the Bible would talk about. A lot of houses will have like little altars in there where they'll burn candles to the saints or to, various to Mary, all these things, and it's not a very healthy reverence of God, exactly. So we want to reach the children before they just follow the traditions of their parents and their grandparents. Because a lot of people don't really know why they believe what they believe or even what they believe. They just do it because that's what they know. So be able to reach them with their children is important. CEF has been in existence since 1937. It was started by a man named J. Irvin Overholzer. One of his favorite scriptures was Matthew 18:14, and he would go across the country preaching on this verse and helping people to understand the need to reach children. And it's in the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish. And this is after he tells the parable of the lost sheep. You know, how the shepherd had 100 sheep and he lost one, and he went to go find it. That's how important that these children are to the Lord. And if you think of even when, the disciples tried to keep the children away because he thought that, that the older people or the adults maybe were a little more important, that Jesus said, no, you let them come, and he blessed them and stuff. And so we know that children are very important to the Lord, and they do, their welfare is, he watches out for it, which makes us that reach them have to, we will be responsible for how, we reach them. I really do think that. And so to do it effectively and to do it well is what we strive for with CEF. We have a threefold purpose: to evangelize boys and girls with the gospel of Jesus Christ, and then to not only just evangelize them and just kind of leave them there, but to then help them to grow, to disciple them in God's Word, and to get them plugged in with the local church so that they can continue to grow, continue to build those good friendships with other Christians, other believers, and they can continue to grow and become godly people. And so CEF has, as of January this year, they just got they're now in 160 countries around the world reaching children. And Honduras is one of them. They have various different ministries down there. Right now the ministry is centered in the capital city of Tegucigalpa, which comes from a native language. And no one really knows exactly what it means anymore, but most people think it means Silver Hill. Honduras is about 3,000 feet above sea level, so it's one of the higher places in the country. And it's over 1.25 million people over, and so that's the biggest city I think I've ever been in. I don't know. I guess I've been in Washington, D.C., but I don't know how many people live there. But this will probably be the biggest city I'll definitely be living in long term. So it has its good sides and its bad sides. But of the children in the country, there's at least, a conservative estimate would be at least 500,000 just in the capital city. And we want to reach every single one of them. And right now they are working on, when my friends are missionaries down there with CEF, the couple, I've known them for 3 or 4 years, and they've been in Honduras for about almost 2 years now. And so when they got down there wasn't a whole lot of workers, and so they began training adults that already worked with children, like Sunday school teachers, the Awana leaders or something, with various different effective methods how they could, better reach the children in their churches, the ones that they work with. A lot of them haven't had any training at all, which isn't bad, but for them to have fresh ideas, new methods and things, and good materials, for them was exciting. This picture up at the top, they had one class specifically for those that work with the preschool age, and they loved it. There was about 30-some adults that came to this, and they took this week-long training class, and they went back and they started implementing some of these things, and they were so excited. And it's just really neat to see the adults in Honduras catch the vision for reaching the children and to get really involved and excited. They're just taking off with this, and it's great. So that's one thing they do, and they still have continued to do to help the workers there. And most of these are just